Hey folks, welcome back. So today we're going to talk about electric fans and how to wire them up reliably. So let's get after it. All right, first things first. So you've picked out the fan, you've got it, it's your favorite fan, it's the one that's going to fit well in the car, and it's the biggest one you can fit in the radiator area, and let's assume that's already done. And you found it online, maybe you've gotten a kit, maybe it's the fan by itself, or it's a fan with an installation kit, something like you see up here. But there's a few things you need to know up front. And number one is, what is the current draw of the fans? Now, if this comes in a kit already, we're assuming the manufacturer's already done this calculation for you and set you up with the right sized support components. In this case, this support kit came with a relay and it came with a fuse. So, but if you don't, there's two things you got to look at. When a fan starts running, it's going to have what's called an inrush of current. So it's going to pull more current than it does after the fan is up to speed. So if you see something, the fan's like, oh, it pulls 15 amps. That might be the steady state current, but you have to size the circuit to be able to handle that startup, or you'll be blowing fuses. The next thing is, regardless of the kit, is how do you want to control the system? So you can control in any various ways or combination of ways. The first question you need to ask yourself is, do you want this fan to run after you've turned the ignition switch off? So the car stopped and you just want to keep it running. You'll be at car shows and you'll hear the electric fans running for, running on parked cars and the owner's not there. But that's because they are wired to constant. Or do you want it to run only on ignition? So the moment you turn off the switch, the electric fan's going to stop. It's a preference thing. Personally, I like to run them on ignition because that way I know that it's not going to be draining the battery. And when the engine stopped, you're not actually circulating coolant, so all it's doing is cooling it's cooling the coolant in the radiator. But this is up to you which way you want to go on that. And the second is how do you want to control how the fan turns on or off? So you have a few different options here. You have a thermostatic switch, such as what's in this bag right here. I don't know why I didn't take it out, so let's do it. So on here, they'll have on these switches, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to zoom in on this or not, but there is, I'll take a picture of it. There's a number that's stamped in the side. On this one, it's stamped 185, which means this switch will close at 185 degrees Fahrenheit, and then it'll open somewhere below that, just so it's not just jittering. So this is a 185. Depending on your application, you may want something a little higher or something lower. The next way is an override switch. Simply, you have a switch that you put on the dash or in your dash, underneath the dash, and this allows you to kick the fan on whenever you want. Again, this is preference. You may not really care and you may just want it done automatically, or you may want something that says, hey, look, even though it's automatically done, I want to be able to turn that fan on if I'm thinking the motor's getting too hot. The third is what's called a trinary. That's if you're running air conditioning. There'll be a trinary switch that it requires the fan to start turning, because even if the engine's not at temperature, you still want the airflow going through the AC condenser that's generally located right in front of your radiator or as part of your radiator assembly. And lastly, if you're running an ECU or you're running EFI, a lot of times the EFI wants to control that fan. So you may be able to control it in one or a combination of ways. So the next step is I'm going to draw out a schematic to show you how you want to actually wire this thing up. All right, so here's some fine art for you. It's not a very complex circuit, but there's a lot of important things to this. So what you have on this is you have your battery, you have a fuse or a circuit breaker, either one. We'll talk about that in a second. You've got your relay, you have your fan, you have your, in this case, your temperature switch, which is going to trigger the relay, and the ignition switch, which is going to apply the power to the triggering side of the relay. So with that said, couple notes here. Number one is, you see how I put fuse/CB circuit breaker? In a lot of kits, they'll come with a fuse. In this case, this has a 30 amp fuse and a little inline fuse. And because it came with the fan, and if you buy it from the manufacturer, it's a good safe assumption that that they've chosen the right size. Alternatively, you can use a circuit breaker. And the advantage of a circuit breaker is that inrush of current that I showed you earlier, it'll be able to handle that. Whereas a fuse, if that inrush exceeds the rating of the fuse, it's going to blow the fuse. So either way, it's a preference thing. It's really up to you. The next important note is you want the distance from the battery through the fuse, through the relay to the fan to be as short as possible. You don't want real long wire lengths here. So in most cases, you'll have a battery. Most of your batteries are probably up front under the hood. Not all the ways, I understand that. But if you get your battery power from up front, maybe it's off the alternator, maybe it's off the starter post, or it's off a mega fuse or some sort of post. Keep this as short as possible. And that's one reason why in a lot of these kits, you'll see this relay here is a water resistant relay. That's so you can put it up in front of the vehicle and not have to worry about any water or junk getting in there and corroding the contacts and causing issues. If you don't have that concern, obviously you can go with the standard style relay. This one here is a 40 amp relay. This one's got 5 pins. In this case, we just wouldn't use the center pin. So the other thing is, if you don't have this kit, that's why you want to do the research on the fan itself. Figure out what that inrush current is and then size everything accordingly. Now, generally the wire size for the supply to the fan is going to be generally no smaller than 12 gauge, and it'll be larger than that. Most of the time it's either 12 or 10 gauge. And again, that's all dependent on what fan you're using. And then moving forward, so the wire goes from the battery to the fuse. From the fuse, it'll go over to this pin 30 on the relay. In this case, this open relay, it's this guy here. If you want to learn more about relays, I'll leave a link in the description below. I did a whole video on them and don't want to bore you to tears here. The output of the relay, you're going to be using pin 87. If you can see here, that's if you have a little schematic on there, that's your output pin, and that's going to go to the fan itself. And then the back side of the fan gets grounded. Now, one note is most of these fans are bidirectional, meaning that if you hook up plus 12 on this side and ground on this side, the fan's going to spin, rotate in one direction. But if you reverse them, the fan's still going to work. It's just going to rotate in the opposite direction. So if you're not sure which way the fan rotates, test it out. Use a fairly high powered, if you will, 12 volt supply, or hook it up to your battery and see which way it's going. Or in the worst cases, you hook it up backwards. It's no big deal because you can simply switch these two wires. So whether you're using these fans as a puller or a pusher, some of these fans are rated to do both. That fan's going to you're going to want that fan to rotate in one direction or the next. So that's where these two wires come into play. So as you can see here, so this, for instance, you know, the black wire may or may not be going to ground depending on your application. Okay, so now we have this. Now the next step is, how do you want to trigger your relay? Remember those questions we were talking about earlier, is you may say, hey, look, I don't want my fan running when my car's switched off. So you're going to take from your ignition switch, you're going to run a wire up to pin 85. Now, when I say ignition switch, this should be fused as well. You should put a fuse in here, or you may already have a fused ignition line you can use. But let's say you don't want to do that, and you're like, no, I want my fan to run even after I shut the car off. Then all you simply do is instead of running from the ignition, you'll run the same thing from the battery through a small fuse. Again, this doesn't pull hardly any current, and you don't have to worry about the wire size so much on here. And if you look at even these relays, you'll notice that there's going to be 2 small wires and 2 large ones. And in this case, the red's your supply from the battery, the yellow's going to the fan, and then these two, one of them's going to go to in this case, the ignition switch through fuse, and the other one's going to go to whatever's triggering. So that leaves the last pin, pin 86, and that one is going to go your trigger. Now your trigger needs to be something that's triggering to ground because you're already supplying power here. So this relay is not going to close unless this is grounded. So how these switches work is they get hot enough and internally a switch closes and the body of this is grounded. Now these should be installed either in your block or in your head or your intake manifold. I don't recommend putting them on the radiator or inside the radiator because it's not actually measuring the engine temperature at that point. It's measuring radiator temperature, and it could cause these things to, the fan not to turn on when you want it. It could turn on way hotter. The other thing is you can always experiment with different temperatures on this as well. So there's also thermostats that have, you can buy an aftermarket thermostat that has an extra spot. That's okay. It's not as good as inside the intake manifold, but it'll work, no problem. So that's one way. Now, let's say you decide, well, you know what? I want to have an override. I want to have the switch on here, but I also want an override. I want this guy too. So I got this guy, I want this guy too. Well, you simply connect into this same trigger line, and you're going to go down to this toggle switch right here. And the back side of the toggle switch, you're going to ground. So that way, if you decide, hey, I want to turn the fan on, all you're doing is flipping the switch. And this switch isn't carrying any current, hardly any current, because it's not actually, there's another switch that's doing the job there. The same thing can be said is if you wanted to do, if you had like vintage AC, and you could actually throw a vintage AC on here and you put this right here on the trinary. I can't write, but you know what I said there. And the trinary switch, then the backside of that's grounded as well. As long as you have multiple ways of grounding this thing, because in most cases, most cars that I build, a lot of times if they have vintage AC, I have all three, unless the owner specifically doesn't want to have a manual override. So in that case, you pretty much have what you need to actually wire one of these things well. All right, so that's how you wire up an electric fan. It's not really complicated. It just requires a little planning. You know, one thing I didn't show is what happens if you have two fans. Well, if you have two fans, the most simplest way of doing that is you're going to run two relays instead of one, and two sets of fuses or circuit breakers instead of one. But you're still going to use the same single trigger, be it a temperature switch, like this guy, or a toggle switch, and you're still going to have the same input from either switched ignition or constant power. If you have any questions on that, leave me a comment below. I'd be happy to sort of draw out a little schematic on it. But just be mindful of the current these things are pulling, and I'm sure you'll be able to wire this thing up just fine. Thanks again for watching. You know, give the video a like if it was helpful to you. Love all the subscribers that are out there right now. We're getting close to 600, which is awesome. And I just appreciate everyone's time. So hope everyone has a great day, and thanks for watching.